Hey guys, I'm Jennifer Martin over at Shop Local Raleigh, and we want to bring you today a little conversation with one of our good friends and board member, Cydney Davis English, over at the English Garden Florist. Hey, Cydney.
Hi, Jennifer. How are you?
Well, thanks. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
So, Cydney, tell us who and what is the English Garden Florist?
Sure. So we opened in late 2006. So I can't believe I have a teenager at home and a teenager at work. So my husband and I are both third generation flower shop kids, and we kind of always had it in the back of our mind, hence the glove, that we would someday open our own flower shop, and decided a few years after Vivian joined us that it was the right time. So we opened English Garden in Briar Creek. We were originally in the shopping center area. Now we have a studio area that's and a retail store that's in more of an office park, but still in the 617 zip code. But um, we're a full service flower shop. We deliver throughout the triangle. We do classes. We have a great online shop. Now we're starting to ship, which we're really excited about that. And then we help a lot of couples walk down the aisle, which has been a really wonderful part of the business, and also help businesses with their gifting needs and their corporate events.
Nice, nice. So, what got you into flowers? Like, what led you to want to do this type of career path?
Well, I grew up so I think entrenched in it. So my playpen was in my Granny B's flower shop. My that was my dad's foster mom, and then a couple of years after I was born, my mom and dad opened their own shop. And that was just always kind of the anchor. And even we had a few periods where mom and dad didn't own a florist, but my dad was the flower designer. He would freelance design and travel. And I even got to do a little bit of that with him. So it was just kind of in my blood, and I think to some degree Warren's as well, because he grew up in his grandmother's flower shop and his mom's flower shop. So, and his brother is still in the business. So we joke that it's the mafia, that it was just sort of hard to get away from it. And I've been blessed to work in some other wonderful career choices. I worked in theater and arts administration for a long stretch, but always in the back of my mind, I thought, oh man, I really hope I get to open my own flower shop someday.
So now, did you go to like a special school for training to be a florist, or did you take classes? Like, how did you learn to do the art of flower, creating the pretty, beautiful designs that you guys make?
Well, first, thanks for that. We appreciate that. It So along the way, I've always enjoyed the opportunity to go and take different workshops, and been blessed to have the opportunity to study with quite a few wonderful designers along since opening my own store here. But I have often joked that I went to the College of Charles Richard Davis Flower Design. That was my dad's name. And he actually was a longtime educator in the field as well as owning a florist. One of his gigs when we were kids was teaching the flower design program at the community college. And as I got older, my brother got older, a lot of times we were the classroom assistant, filling vases and buckets and things like that. So I didn't go to a formal structured program for that. My undergraduate degree, one degree's in business, the other is in theater. But so I feel like the business degree gave me maybe kind of a different vantage point, a different window to look at business through than growing up surrounded by a family business. But I kind of think flowers are like, it's kind of like riding a bike. Like if you learn some essentials, you never quite lose that, but there are always ways that you can ride a little bit faster, smoother, get better. So I try to make education for me and also for my staff something that we do ongoing.
And I've had the opportunity to come to your studio before and do some charitable projects where, I know that that's a huge part of who you and your company is being very charitable and giving back to the community. I remember a great night we came and put flowers together and took them over to some nursing homes for a donation, just to try and help brighten their
Right.
day. How do you think, like, is it something that your parents were very charitable? Is it something that you just grew up passionate about? Like, what led you to be such a charitable partner in our community?
Well, one, thank you for that. And I really like to think that it is a cornerstone of who we are. And it's something we really try to have as part of our ethic, not just as a company, but as a team. Um, I think if I had to think about a root of that, it would be that both of my my family had a flower shop in Roseboro where I grew up, and then also in Benson for a long time. So areas not too far away from here, but definitely much smaller towns. And, I just grew up that, if the high school was having a silent auction and they needed something, my dad would donate something, or, the yearbook sales team needed to sell an ad, he would buy an ad, or, and there were plenty of times where maybe someone needed funeral flowers and didn't quite have the budget for it. And he would make sure that that would happen, and I think there was while it maybe was not quite as a defined part of a vision as we try to have here, I think philanthropy was just really important to my mom and dad. They both came from very, very humble beginnings. My dad would always talk about that he was literally born in a dirt shack converted tobacco barn, and my mom didn't have indoor plumbing growing up, and she loves to remind our Vivian about that. But there was just always this sense that for whatever good happens to you, you have to repay that and pay it forward, and be part of that as a catalyst in your community. And we've been incredibly blessed with the way that our community supports us. And I feel like it is our responsibility as well as our, gift, it's just the warm fuzzies that you get every time you can connect with somebody through flowers is really wonderful.
And it sounds like too, the industry you're in, it's often like a bakery. Like if they get someone for their bridal shower parties, they're usually doing their wedding, then they're doing first birthday cakes.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that's very traditional, or not, I shouldn't say traditional, as part of the relationship building with your industry too, is that you're doing multiple occasions for these families and you really create a connection, a bond, and friendships with them.
Right. Well, and again, growing up in it, I was really blessed because I worked with my parents for a long time, even off and on during college, and really pretty much, even if I worked in other fields, like I knew, Valentine's Day, if you're a florist kid, is like Christmas. You don't make any other plans, where you're going to be, but being in the proximity of the business that my parents were always in, I know that there are people that my dad sent flowers to the hospital when they were born. He made flowers when they walked down the aisle, when they had their first kid and anniversaries. And then, he may have helped bury parents or grandparents, and there aren't a lot of careers where you're able to have that arc in someone's life and you can build that community. It can be a little harder to do when you're in a city because things aren't sort of centralized around, say, one main shopping area or one main street. Right. But I think that being engaged in the community, whether it's you get your feet wet with something like Shop Local Raleigh or with a program like Leadership Raleigh, where you and I have also had connection, that you can start to build that sense of community, even if it's a smaller one inside a bigger playing field.
Now, with all of this that you've done, and you are very active in the community, you're not just a charitable giver. I see you actually physically doing things too and participating with different charities. When you're not working, which is, I know is rare because we'll talk about your second business, you're very active in hiking and exploring parks. And I mean, what got you into that outdoor nature and spirit?
Well, I think it's kind of funny because I had to write a little something for someone the other day, and part of that tied back into, like, when I was little, we lived in an old farmhouse that my parents, the family farmhouse that they had converted. And I don't think there were many days that I wasn't covered in mud pies and being out in the yard and all of that. And then, like a lot of us over time really got removed from that. And I didn't grow up in a hiking, camping family. But we were outside a lot. We would garden and we lived out in the country and, or for a long stretch. But right around my 40th birthday, I just really wasn't where I wanted to be physically or in terms of being active. And it was really around that time that I'm like, wow, the habits that I said are going to be the habits that are really ingrained with Vivian. And Warren felt the same way. And I took up running first. And then he and Vivian will join me whenever I do races. And let me just preface by saying I'm no great runner. I'm more of a tortoise, but I make the finish. So that's always my goal. And then Warren had always had more of an affinity for hiking. And so it's been literally, unintended, kind of a marriage of both of those things. And then Vivian probably has a stronger connection to being outside and hiking and being in the mountains than maybe doing, marathons or half marathons or races. And so that's become a real cornerstone of our family activity now.
Okay.
Obviously that's a little on hold with travel, but we've been really, really, really blessed that Warren and I have now hiked on 5 continents, and Vivian's hiked on 4.
Wow.
And but when we've done that, we've done it in a very economical, very straightforward, sort of stripped down kind of way. But we've made some really amazing friendships and connections. We're in WhatsApp groups with our friends in Nepal and India and all, who we were at Everspace Camp on a hike with that back in December. And Warren and I consider that one thing that we can really do as parents for Vivian, to help her have a really big worldview that we think also influences her community view.
Nice, nice. Well, now, because you had so much free time on your hands, you decided to launch another business as well.
Exactly, right.
I mean, tell us about the second business and how you got from where you are now to the second business.
Well, so Warren, I joke with Warren that a little bit of it is that, he didn't go out and have a midlife crisis girlfriend or buy a motorcycle. We bought bought a business, we bought a cleaning business. So he had been with this phenomenal local company called Salix that was bought out a few years ago. And in the interim, he'd started freelancing and consulting after the changeover with the company. And we had a lot of friends who were sort of in that same boat and had started looking at different businesses or different franchises. And Warren and I think, again, just having grown up in family businesses, there's an entrepreneurial kind of drive that you have. So we started looking around, and it was funny because we didn't necessarily want to start something again from the ground up the way we did English Garden. So we thought, well, we'll look at a franchise. We have family members that own different franchises and friends. So we worked with a franchise broker, and every single thing that he helped us explore kept pointing us in the direction of buying a cleaning company. And we're like, where are you getting this from? I mean, I was thinking like, massage chain or, like a waxing, like some personal service, something girly. And I'm like, no, and he's like, well, you're your end user. And we're like, well, yeah, I guess we actually are. So we kind of secret shopped. We were looking for a cleaning service. We knew that we were sort of headed in that direction, maybe buying one, and we booked a service with 2 maids and a mop and just fell in love with the company and with the mindset and the structure of it. So we bought that in late 2017 from an existing franchise owner, and the community there has it's a growing franchise. It's not as big as some of the other national ones, but Ron Holt, who is the founder, is just a bundle of energy. And he has read, I think, every great business book that's out there, and he sends out these directives, especially during this time. He's just been such a phenomenal leader, but he's so rooted in the ethic of strong community involvement, the morals and the trajectory of a family unit, family business, all that. And so it's been interesting to see the things that I've learned there counter here with the Florist and vice versa.
Right. Now, with all of this experience that you've had and what you've learned, what are some of your either favorite quotes or words of encouragement for other entrepreneurs, or things that you've learned through times you've had to pivot? If you could tell other people something about being entrepreneurial or best practices, what would you say?
Well, one book that always comes to mind is one that Ron sort of mentions when you first go on your fact finding thing or to meet the franchise folks in Birmingham. And we just had a owners meeting before all of this happened back in January, where Jesse, and I've now just completely blanked on his last name, and I'm so sorry. I'll send you the link so you can share it with the SLR community. But the Savannah Bananas are this phenomenal kind of minor league, summer league team. And their owner, Jesse, has written the best book about the guy in the yellow tux. We're finding your yellow tux. So the concept of you find your purple cow, you find your yellow tuxedo, you find the thing that defines you. And sometimes that is projected through a product. Sometimes it's through a service. Sometimes it's transferable, whether you were selling coffee or flowers. But if you can find what your groove is and what you can do that's different than anyone else and figure out a way to sell that, to package that, then you can have a great thing. And I think that's really, really important to know now, because I feel like all of a sudden small business owners in particular are really looking for, if I can't have people coming into my store and I can't take my business necessarily to them, I've got to have a different kind of marketplace.
Right.
And when you put things online for sale, very often that can be a very sterile exchange. It can be very generic. So you've got to be able to tell your story. You've got to be able to project who you are and what you are and why you're doing it. And the one overarching thing with both of our companies is we are customer centric. If we do something right, fantastic. We want to hear about it and we hope you're happy and we hope that you'll be back. If we've done something that we need to fix, we're going to fix it with gusto. And, my grandmother always said, it's not what you get right, it's how you handle what you get wrong. And some of my longest term customers are because of how I fix something, or my team is fixing of how we get wrong. And so our mantra with both Two Maids and with English Garden is we want happy, repeat customers. So what does that look like? And I feel like that's a writing theme throughout any business book that you pick up, whether it's telling you how to be a millionaire or how to open a business or how to network or whatever. It's always understanding who your customer is and understanding how to build a relationship where they don't want to go anywhere else.
Yeah, that's powerful. That's strong. That's really good. Well, thank you for doing this, and thank you for taking the time
and having me.
And I real quick too, I want you to mention, I know you have a mask with you today. Can you tell us briefly what you're doing about what the mask project is?
Yeah, well, I mean, again, I think this comes from, how do you stay connected in a time when we have to be distanced? And my wonderful cohort on the Shop Local Raleigh board, Cheryl Fraser, who owns a beautiful, charming shop called Galatea down in Seaboard Station, we were brainstorming here, how could we do something that brought multiple partners together? And so we were thinking, well, wouldn't it be great if we could do a really pretty bouquet, but not too expensive, with really focused on local product, and then using things that are from local farms that we source product from, especially this time of year, using in a vase bought from one of our in-state vendors, and then pair it with a mask. And so I was like, I'll call Cheryl because she knows everything fabric. And then come to find out, several of her clothing manufacturers are small batch, very artisanal, fabric fashion designers, and they'd already pivoted to making masks. So we said, well, why don't we just do this in partnership? We buy the mask from you. We've got the delivery infrastructure. We can get it out there. And then for every mask that gets sold with a bouquet, we're donating it. So we actually had a meet up with Cheryl today to get more masks because we had sold several more bouquets. And then our first wave of donations will be, she has a close relationship with one of the nursing homes in town that offers Alzheimer's care. So we're going to provide masks there, because a lot of facilities are very focused on PPE, as they should be, but you may have visitors or family members who come, or even volunteer staff or regular staff who don't have masks. So we just want to get them in the hands of places where they need to go.
Oh, that's wonderful. And that's so great to hear. Not only how you guys are, I think it's important to mention too, how small business owners, we constantly tell people that, they do more, they're connected more, but it's telling the stories like this and showing people how they truly are connected and truly are committed to giving back and doing more, even when some of you you're not having a lot of income coming in, some are completely shut down, but all of you are stepping up to work together, because I think it just shows strength in numbers that we are community, and we live here, we work here, we play here, and we all pay it forward that much more.
Well, and again, if you open yourself up to finding those partnerships, like just this one mask spring bouquet on our website brings 5 different business partners together.
Wow.
3 of whom, counting myself, Cheryl, and one of the local farms, are female-owned businesses. We're all working moms. So you think one little thing, one $50 item brings together 5 different partnerships that otherwise none of us would be doing that. So you can find those opportunities for that collaboration, and they don't necessarily have to be complicated or complex or expensive.
Right. Well, thank you so much for
Thank
sharing that
you.
with us and giving us encouragement on words of wisdom, but also about how, think outside the box, think about the pivoting, think about partnering with other local businesses, how you can help support one another, because in the end, it's what's going to keep us all going.
Yes, it is. And
So
keep us connected.
that's right. Well, Cydney, thank you again. If you guys have
Thank
questions,
you.
go research English Garden Florist. They have a website. They're on Facebook. They're on Instagram. I believe you're on Twitter, if I remember.
Yeah.
So you can find them, 2 Maids and a Mop. And so any questions, you can also comment, send us a direct message, and we'll be happy to connect you. And Cydney, thank you. Good to see
Thank
you
you
again.
so much. So good to see you.
So take care.
Bye.
Bye.